I'd like to call the Thursday, October 20th Board of Education meeting to order at 7:01 p.m. Roll call.
Chairman Papa-Holzer.
Here.
Vice Chair Nafrio.
Here.
Secretary Tiana. Salmo.
Here.
Dr. Canada. Kim Dawson.
Here.
Victoria Alonso. Here.
Salute the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Prior to starting our meeting today, I'd like to have a moment of silence for the two fallen officers, Bristol police officers. We thank them for their service. They gave the greatest sacrifice. Thank you. Visitors and press. I see the regular crew out there. Okay. Student representatives, welcome. It's your turn. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourselves?
I'm Nathan Higgins. I am a senior at Branford High School. I participate in many of the clubs we have at MBHS, and they do some musical things, plays. I'm in the marching band, co-op with East Haven. Do a lot of the more academic clubs at North Branford High School.
I think you're the president of the National Honor Society.
Oh yes, I'm president.
Oh, you have a very good speaking voice. I said, you're going to make a good announcer.
Thank you.
No pressure.
My name is Cecilia Waco. I'm also a senior at North Branford High School. I'm our 2023 class president and the president of the Best Buddies chapter at high school.
Oh, great. Nice.
So on Exhibit A, you will see a much more detailed biography of Cecilia and Nate, and they totally represent what we hope to instill in our students. They're very well-rounded. They take the most challenging courses, and we're really proud to have them here. So welcome.
Great.
Thank you.
So what high school news do you have for us?
Well, so first, the annual MBHS College Planning Night took place on September 13th, and senior conferences have been held throughout the month of October. Guidance counselors have met with seniors on their caseload, and the vast majority of parents have attended the meetings in person. Some parents, due to work commitments, have participated virtually. The annual T-Bird Fair was held on October 6th with staff and current MBHS students hosting the school day event and evening session for parents. Mr. Christopher Hersom led the program once again this year that featured a student-led panel discussion, video presentations, and a co-curricular fair in the gymnasium. 50 display tables have been set up and staffed in the gymnasium, a record since the event's inception. This included core academic departments, elective and specialized departments, co-curricular activities such as clubs and athletics.
And then on October 12th, all MBHS students grades 9, 10, and 11 completed PSAT testing during the day, during the scheduled school day. Grade 9 students completed the PSAT using their Chromebooks, and it is expected that College Board will move solely to an electronic testing format for this test, the PSAT. And then the National Honor Society induction ceremony was held on October 18th. Students who qualified academically were provided an opportunity to submit applications, and the official induction process will take place each fall. 27 new members were inducted this year. And flex time takes place daily during the middle of the school day along with lunch, and includes an advisory session each Friday. Faculty at the school are provided with an advisory agenda each week. Agendas thus far have included opening week information, expectations regarding academic study hall and flex time, attendance reminders, and overviews of the attributes associated with SOAR and the MBHS vision of the graduate.
Great. You are both welcome to stay for the remainder of the meeting, but if you have to study or do homework, feel free to leave. We know how it goes, so thank you for coming.
Thank you. See you next month. Okay, then I would like to make a motion I would like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda of the October 20th, 2022 North Branford Board of Education meeting as submitted.
Second. Any discussion?
Yeah, I was just at the field trip. That's what kind of,
Here you are.
yeah, threw me off. We're getting back to field trips.
Yes, we are.
That'll be really nice. to be able to get back to these. I was happy to see that.
And my son's going on that one, so.
Nice.
Looking forward to it.
And there's more coming, but I don't want to let it out of the bag yet, but there are more trips coming.
Great. What are they?
I can tell you.
Nice try.
I thought,
They dance.
Oh, nice.
We want to bring the dances back. So anyway.
Nice.
That'd be great.
Yes.
I mean, who doesn't want a good dress? Or, I guess the boys do.
Well,
In my case, I'm speaking personally. Yeah, a nice pair of khakis.
Right.
Are there any revisions or anything needed on the minutes?
not nice.
Mary, roll call vote?
Sure. Chairman Papahosa,
Abstain?
Vice Chair Nafrio,
Yes.
Secretary Sienna,
Yes.
Janet Balsamo,
Yes.
Kim Dawson,
Yes.
Victoria Alonso. Yes.
Okay, moving right along. We have our board briefs that are included in the board packet, and you've had a chance to take a look at them. If there's any questions, administrators are here this evening, but obviously we've been very busy, and they're into their fall seasons, and we just started play, and it's been wonderful to see us getting really back into the swing of things. We have we have a presentation on student performance updates. As you know, the last 2 months we've been talking about our student achievement and scores. That's actually something that we're very focused on as a board. And Carter is going to present at this time. And I have the handouts for you. It's a PowerPoint that you can follow along with.
There are a lot of trees killed for today's meeting.
Trees.
Trees killed.
We're trying to find out policies was the
Yeah,
biggest.
they want
I know.
yeah.
But we haven't had policies for a while.
Do you want me to do this?
Yes, please. Probably easier if just stand and say.
Yes, please. I think we need.
Yeah.
So you want to close
Yes.
All right, so you have the packets in your hands. You can follow along. Really, the point of this presentation is to give an overview of how the students performed just in kind of last school year's data. And you'll see toward the end of the packet, I've updated you on the action plans that each building is undertaking in relation to these scores and overall school performance.
Down.
I tried that.
Want to physically do it?
Hold on. Wait for it. There we go. So I gave you some overview highlights. I think it's important that everyone knows that student achievement across the board continues to lag from the pandemic. That's a trend that the state had published. So we still are making up gaps from the impact of the pandemic. If you see highlighted in purple, a nice feather in our cap, a small number of Connecticut school districts, including North Branford, a few other towns there, showed an improvement in their overall performance index since the beginning of the pandemic. And that's really an outstanding recognition. We're one of the few that has shown some growth despite the impact of the pandemic. So we're very proud of that. That's represented across the district. We continue to make progress toward that target of 60% proficiency in all tested areas and all grades, and in some cases we're significantly outpacing that goal already. As you'll see, there remain some priority areas that continue to be a focus. The central office remains focused on providing vision and support for all schools, and collectively our goal remains kind of getting to that trend of continuous improvement over 5 years and not just isolated pockets of strength or weakness. The last bullet is just something that I always preach. The scores remain a balanced area of focus. However, the larger goal of improving teaching and learning remains our driving force. And we figured the way that we do that will impact those student performance data, so we don't necessarily chase only the scores. So as we continue on here, maybe you said?
Pointing at the laptop.
Wait, where?
At the laptop.
Oh. It's unfortunate. Such nice technology.
It's always good.
We'll go old school.
Old-fashioned
All right.
forward. All right.
So what I've organized for you now is just by English language arts and mathematics. I can give you an overview. So with respect to English language arts, there's an emerging trend of success at the elementary level. There's a continued area of growth opportunity at the middle level. We have some nice PSAT, SAT performance growth over time. And then kind of at the bottom, what are we doing? We're continuing to look at our high needs performance, and we're continuing to support individual student growth through our RTI, SRBI support blocks. So what you see here is English language arts performance. This is again on the 21, 22 grade levels. This is 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. The slides are all on one so that you can see it together. I know it's a little bit small, but in your handout you can also see. We have North Branford up there in relation to the surrounding towns. So you'll see this is an area of nice growth and strength. 3rd grade, we're just behind Guilford and Madison at this point with 70%. In 4th grade, you can see 64% up near the top. In 5th grade, kind of in the middle, but still a nice above 70 score there. The state performance numbers are on the right there for you to look at, just so you have a reference point of what the average performance across the state was. So we're significantly in those 3 grades outperforming the state, as we should.
Ask a question.
Sure.
Yes.
Do we know what the drop is from 3rd going up to 4th and 5th?
Not necessarily. I mean, I wouldn't. When you look at it by just a 3rd grade compared to a 4th grade, it's different sets of kids. So you'll see in later slides there's some cohort where you look at how those kids performed over time. That'll show you a different, probably more accurate trend. Sure. So looking at English language arts in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, again, you can see in comparison to the state. So there's some areas of work still to be done there. There's some areas of growth as well, but this is an area that we continue to kind of target and work towards in relation to some of the surrounding towns. Next. This is a score of the SAT scores in English language arts. So again, you can kind of see us in relation to surrounding towns. You can see us how we perform in relation to the state average. So we tend to perform a little bit stronger on the SAT in English language arts. You'll see that math, in a later slide, is an area of more focus for us.
Can I just ask a question?
Sure.
This is the SAT they took in the school in the fall?
Yes.
Okay, so do you get updated, like I know they typically get it in the summer and then they could take it this fall. Do you get updated at some point?
We will get some of that information, but we don't get it in a full trend because not every kid does it on the same day.
Oh yeah, no, and I mean some of them just came in,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
it's like so the following year you'll have like a more updated
Yep.
of what the SAT. Okay.
Yes, and you'll see toward the end I also have some trends of how that's the performance has been over time in the SAT compared to the PSAT performance.
Okay.
Here's one example right there. So this is again English language arts. You can kind of look at the states, that's a benchmark, that's what you see across in purple. That's the expected growth over time. And what's broken down here is the PSAT, SAT over time, and our growth with respect to the state expectations. And then we kind of, you're looking at what we might expect to see in the class of 2023 and 2024.
So 900 is all the state expects from the SATs? SATs, 900?
No, where are you seeing that?
436 and 461?
No, this is just in the English language arts. This is just on one section of the
Oh,
test.
gotcha,
So
okay.
just in this section.
I see it. All right, just put my glasses on.
So in math, we've seen some pockets of growth, and there's some trends in some areas, some inconsistencies others, so our focus remains getting to that 60% trend across time. As I mentioned, PSAT, SAT math is an area that we're working strongly toward, and I'll highlight that as we get to our action plans. So the next slide, just broken down the way we did for English language arts, shows you math. scores at the elementary level in relation to surrounding towns. You can see math performed at the elementary level was not as strong as the English language arts. So we're working on that trend. As you probably remember from prior meetings, we have implemented a new math curriculum that is taking shape across the district, the elementary up through the high school levels now, and we're expecting continued improvement based on that program and the level of instruction that we provide within that program. And then you can see the relation to state performance on the side.
State performance at 5th grade is 38%.
Yeah, the trends in math are low across the state. Very.
If it's tough all around.
Yeah.
The state in math at all levels is seriously in crisis.
Why?
Yeah. And there's a lot of theory behind that. Some of it is even just continuing to look at the nature of the test and what they're asking kids to do is really predictive of the skills that they should have and all of that. But it's also just, again, the impact of lost instruction that's catching up to these grades in the real foundational areas.
I think it's the way the teachers should go back.
Well, especially in math with the last couple of years, where we've
We need
seen.
to go back to old school math where you memorize and you.
Well, I don't know, Marcia, I might disagree with you there.
I can't help my kids. I couldn't have them.
We'll teach you how to help. That's a big pitch of what we're doing is helping the parents and the guardians understand the way that we're trying to do it, to create better math thinkers, people that can problem solve and not just be robotic in how they do
I
it,
can't help just graders with math.
which is what we're used to.
I really can't. I can't help them.
Yeah, they do. Yep. So just continuing on the trends in the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, math to state performance, those numbers continue, they're very low. We're not performing where we want to be as a state across the country with math. And although there have been some nice pockets of growth in math, specifically at NIS, you can see in 6th grade, that's a real nice performance, just below Guilford and Madison. And then, again, they've shown some nice growth. So I think, again, IM and kind of the progress that we're making with the way that we're instructing is showing some preliminary success, but it's going to take time, and we want to see that trend over time. SAT scores, as I mentioned, this is an area of focus. You can see math, again, even on the SAT, the performance is not a high number, and we have our work to do where we are. So that will be a big focus when we talk about action plans. This is the same, mirrors the same slide that you saw for SAT growth over time. So comparing that benchmark to, again, Connecticut sets. And then kind of looking at how our classes have gotten to that or not gotten to that. So we're seeing a trend that obviously needs work. We need to address that. We need to get kids more practice and more preparation for SATs.
The state does keep more relatively low though. As total score, I mean, it's not even 1,000 or right over 1,000.
Yeah, and their model, the way that they do this is the score is supposed to be predictive of what a college freshman would need to do to perform at an average level, so a C to D level in a college course. How they get that regression analysis, I couldn't tell you, but that's the model.
I wonder because I've been looking at colleges and a lot of them are asking for 1350 and
Yep, and that's the math and the language
for
arts
competitive, competitive schools.
Yep.
yeah, 1350, like
Right.
that's high for like that level of school, right? I know it's been a long time since I went to college, but you got 1,200, back in the day, and you were so happy. Now you're
Yeah, and keep in mind the test has shifted too in the way that it's designed and scored and all of that too. So it's, what we remember is not necessarily the same as it
the
is.
same. Yeah, that's true.
So this is hard for you to see in your packets, a little bit easier to see. But even if the graph is tough, it's just you can see kind of the trends over time. And this is language arts, so by grade level. So what our current 9th, 8th, 7th, 6th graders are doing, what our current 5th graders are doing. At the bottom is a really nice way when you're looking at your sheet to kind of look at it because it shows you kind of their score each year. It shows you when the COVID impact happened. It kind of shows you the year after. And then when you look at the graph above, it just kind of gives you some lines of there was some spikes up, there's a spike down, and then what you really see for most of them, the recent trend is spiking up with a few exceptions. And that's what we want to see. We want to see that spike and that trend continue to obviously go up over time. So with math, same thing. You can kind of look down below. You can see a nice progression of scores. So this is, Vicki, you asked the question, kind of how do you know how they're doing, when you compare grade to grade. This shows you kind of how they've been performing across their school experience and what is our trend showing. You can see again the impact of the pandemic. There again, if you look toward the very end of that graph, the promising after a dip down is that those trends are popping up again. And that's something that we're seeing through this math program, through the instruction, all the supports that we have in place with coaches and the way the teachers are teaching. That's been a promising trend that we're excited about. So we hope that it continues and that performance dips up and creeps past that 60%.
What was it? Here, I'm sorry, I came back later.
I have a question I'm not sure if you know the answer to before.
I hope I do.
Do you know how long it would possibly take to get over like that COVID hump now?
That's a $1 million question.
That is a great question. I guess if you ask me that person, I'll give you my personal answer. It's not really backed on any research or anything other than I tend to believe that we're going to get through that quicker. That I don't think it's like doom and gloom forever, and it's trouble, and we're always going to be. I think the kids are resilient, and I think that we've had a good model in North Branford where we haven't had as big an impact as other schools and districts. So the kids have been in school longer.
Right.
And I think that the way our teachers are working with kids and the instructional models and the programs and sports we have in place are going to push kids and they're going to respond. And they're learning how to be resilient.
I feel like I have to say this as well. We've had these conversations, but I think as we continue to lessen the anxiety by getting kids more involved with things that they were used to doing before this, with music, drama, sports, dances, field trip, the quicker we're able to get kids back into those social engaging experiences, and I think kids are going to see that. I don't have the time for that. My best friend. So, steady as we go.
Science, I wanted to make sure that we give science its due. Sometimes we glance over that science is important. We do a good job of really pushing that with our kids. So we have a similar kind of performance pattern over time. We haven't had great increases, we haven't had great decreases either, so we've been pretty steady, but we'd like to push that. We're going to try to expand our efforts with the NGSS test, which is in 5th, 8th, and 11th grade. That's very much in line with kind of the making visible thinking approach, that whole district approach that we have to improving instruction. And the science leaders are going to really work with their folks on the scope and sequence and alignment and making sure that there's a lot of practice for NGSS-like testing, which I think was something that was lacking. We didn't do a lot of practice prior to the actual test.
We have some of the best science teachers in the middle school and high school.
Yeah.
We really do. And I'm speaking only from personal experience, but looking at the kids we've had quite a few of them.
Yeah, they are. There's some great staff. They are. And the leadership is very good within that group as well. So here you have the 5th and 8th grade performance on this one slide. You can see the state performance. 11th is on the next slide, but if you just focus on these two. So we're kind of, in the middle there. But we're confident that that's going to improve with some of the efforts we have in place. It's just something I think that wasn't a priority focus, and we're trying to make it more. The next slide shows you 11th grade. And I know our high school program, our science program is strong. There's strong teachers, strong programs, strong courses, and again, really good leadership. So I'm excited about that trend. So I thought kind of just giving you, before we go to the individual building action plans, kind of just a district overview of kind of what are we doing. And I highlighted for you that making thinking visible approach. You've heard that over the last year or so. It's that K-12 instructional approach that every building is working toward at different paces and in different places. They're not all at the same place, but that's something that all students are learning that approach, and all teachers are learning that approach, and we think it's going to pay big dividends. We're really working on our schedules and our support process for the SRBI model, and simply that is kind of those students that need extra support, how are we identifying them, what support are we giving them, how are we tracking that, how are we moving them in and out of those support services. We're building an administrator professional learning community where we learn together, and that makes us stronger leaders across the district. That's something that we're working on. We're going to be shortly reestablishing a strategic plan focused on kind of a vision to graduate, modeling some of the work that the high school's done around the SOAR acronym. And right now I have a couple of inquiries out to different organizations that do some strategic planning work, and we're trying to just kind of hear back on what they offer, what the price is, and that kind of thing, and make some decisions on whether we'll go with something like that or whether we'll do it more on our own within district. So that process is coming. We continue to value that family engagement efforts around teaching and learning and supporting students at home. So, Shona, you brought that up, but how do you do that with your kid? How do you teach that math? How do you help them? And that's something that all schools at every age level is trying to make sure that they do more outreach and support so that families feel more confident.
Especially with the little ones, like I don't expect to be able to do math with my high school.
Right.
Because quite frankly, she's smarter than me at this point in math because she does it every day, right? But the little ones, like you sit down and do homework with them, if you know the answer, but you can't get them there the same way.
Right, that's exactly my problem.
It's not helpful.
Right. And it can be frustrating for both sides if they don't have some tools to help them kind of replicate the way the kids have been learning.
So how do the parents, can they email the teachers to find out the procedure or?
I mean, I think yes, the teachers are sharing that kind of information at home. They are giving, an overview of some of the units and some of the things that they're doing. This is the lesson that we did today. This is how we taught it. So that happens. But then we're also doing some whole school efforts to invite parents to come in during evenings or even some virtual opportunities in different schools where they can jump in and kind of get some direct coaching and support from school employees.
So my daughter's in fourth and they send home like trouble worksheets for us to figure out. And last year we had a presentation by the, what's her name?
Math coach Kelly Sosa.
Yes, did a great presentation at Totucket last year for parents. It was very helpful.
Yep, and the coaches in the different levels are working on this too and doing some outreach with families, whether, again, sharing something electronically that people can access or offering in person. The last one is we're going to continue to kind of support all those things, K-12, to those district priorities of climate culture, building thinking, and individual support for academic achievement. So now the next slides you get are the individual highlights of action plans. So merely what I did is I took extensive action plans from each building, which are pages that are detailed with who does what over what timeline and what are the outcomes. And you've seen those before in the past. And I boiled it just to a quick summary, one slide, so you can see what each building is doing. So I won't read through all these, you can look at them, but for Jerome Harrison, kind of a focus on Tier 1 support, really helping teachers work directly in the classroom with those kids in a focused way. There's been some improvements in strengthening with curriculum around additional supports for foundational reading support, in addition to what we had already with TC and foundations. Haggerty's.
A teaching model?
Haggerty is a phonics, essentially, model. Yeah. Decoding and encoding. And it's very structured and routine based, and the teachers, spend 15 minutes, I know Beth is that about right, 15 minutes with the students in a very focused lesson. And the kids at that age love it. It's very predictable and fun for them, and it's very practice based. And then, with that, you've heard the talk on the K-3 legislation about reading. Haggerty is getting at that, more of the pitch for those early reading foundational skills. At Totucket Valley, they continue to focus in on making things visible. They're one of the schools that are a little farther along, so they're updating and strengthening that and taking it in new directions. They're really working on that RTI model and how to get kids individualized support, intervention plans, and how to really get at those gaps and treat them. There's a lot of coaching support in that building. They use walkthroughs, and you can see family engagement and continuing to kind of look at their schedules to maximize collaboration opportunity. At NGIS, there's extensive professional learning for teachers and paras. They've done a really good job this year of including paras in a lot of their training because those people are spending a lot of time with kids. Around their curriculum programs, around the visible thinking approach, around differentiation assessment. They are a school with a lot of data analysis protocols and data teams in place, so that work continues. You can see the 3-step process for analyzing data. That's also a pitch. And you can see they are also looking at their schedule and practices to support students through SRBI. And that's the theme you're seeing across there. Really look at that time, how we're using it, and how it's specifically getting the kids around targeted needs. And then at the high school, they're really trying to use and maximize that flex time to offer support for their students in math, reading, writing, and science. You know, and you've probably heard that flex time is a great opportunity for students to actively seek teachers, to meet with teachers, to get extra support, assistance where needed. It's something that students are using quite a bit. I was in a meeting yesterday that had 2 high school students that raved about having that time in their schedule and how it helped them mental health-wise, so they didn't feel as overwhelmed and stressed, and how supportive and helpful the teachers at the high school were with that time. As I mentioned, they're really working to embed a lot of SAT-released items in practice in their course contents in ELA and math. They're looking to expand the SAT prep course and getting as many students as possible to take that. That's been a struggle. The kids aren't as interested in doing that coursework and doing the prep time, so they're really trying to grapple with that and build it. They're looking at building that culture of pride and preparedness around the vision of the graduate and in the performance on the SAT and SAT, so that students want to do their best and improve those scores. And then, like everyone else, they're looking at that SRBI schedule and how to best use it to support student success. And then they're also looking at bringing up some of that coaching support that we have K through 8 and how to use it into the early high school experience as well. And that, I believe, is the last slide. So that's kind of the highlight. If there are questions, I'm happy to answer them. If there was anything, I mean, we kind of asked them as the presentation went on, but if you look through this further and you have anything you want to reach out about, feel free to contact me. I'm happy to talk with you further or answer anything about it.
That being said, we move on. Okay. Communications, we discussed this at the September board meeting. Are there any other questions or clarification for our goal of having a consistent, clear message for how we communicate from teacher to home or administrator to home?
No, did we go to them? I don't think so. Did they go there? Because I don't see, I didn't see it. Okay, I didn't send it on. I thought you were sending it on. Sorry.
Is there something that you mark?
Yeah.
Why don't we do this? Why don't we send it and then we can bring it if we're not over
What we
ready?
want to do is put it as part of the policy committee, so
Okay.
that it can move into policy. My question, so Beth marked it up, and then why don't we just take it and put it in our first reads? And then, can we do that?
Add to it. Is it already marked by the attorney?
No.
So do you want to give it
Let's
to
run
you?
it to the attorney.
The one that you sent originally, that wasn't on the attorney.
No, but I just wanted for the
Okay.
the policy, let me have it set by our attorney look at it.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think when we kind of drafted that, there was no expectation we would do it as a policy.
Right.
It was more guidelines for good practice and putting it in our
Yeah.
handbook.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll get this up to our person, Sarah, and then Sarah will get back to us. We'll bring it to the next meeting. Okay. That being said, financial report. Finance, Martha.
So you have a report in front of you. I'll update you on the new financial system. Business office is still working very closely with Tyler to address some ongoing I'm going to say quirks in the system, mostly around reporting, and one user in particular is having issues with an approval path. So we've been working very closely with them to try and iron that out. Next week, we will begin the initial process for bringing in the HR and payroll module. So that is starting next week. Informational. So just wanted to make you aware, since July, the state of Connecticut, the unemployment department revamped their system and removed their old 40-year manual unemployment claim system and moved to a new computerized system. Since then, across the state, all school districts, and I believe some private companies as well, have seen a uptick in fraudulent workman's compensation claims. Here in the district, we have seen 3 to date, but when you compare it to what other districts have seen, one in particular has had an excess of 100. We're really not doing so bad. It's not anything that isn't within our control, but I just wanted to make you aware of it because it is out there. So what we do on our end is when we see the fraudulent claim, we as the employer report it as fraudulent. We reach out to the employee, advise them to report it as fraudulent with the Department of Labor as well, and then also tell them to, of course, check their own credit report and make sure everything is fine. To date, I haven't heard of anything that goes beyond this fraudulent claim, but it is out there, so I wanted you to be aware of it. So if you hear about it, you know what it is. So it is across the state. In your packet, you have 2 new revised forms. I just wanted to let you see them or review them on your own. We revamped the building rental and the auditorium rental forms. The forms clearly now list out the process and the rules if you are wanting to rent one of our buildings, our fields, or the auditorium. In addition to revising the labor rates, we have added a 20% utility fee in hopes of recouping some of the energy costs associated with rental. Up until this point, we've only been reimbursed by the town for our labor costs. So we are asking now that they return some of the rental fee to us to cover things like light and heat and water, etc.
Absolutely.
So it's on a paper form?
So the auditorium form starts out as paper, but then it goes through a Google sheet because there are so many facets to it that the auditorium manager inputs it.
Can we not automate this? It just seems like
It is
not
fairly
the,
automated.
it is, so does the person who wants to rent it fill this out and then we data entry it? That's not automated.
For the auditorium.
For the auditorium.
The auditorium form goes through a process where the secretary will get it. If it's internal, we have one path for internal and one for external.
And so the internal path is automated and the external path
They're
is
both
not.
semi-automated.
Can we completely automate them? That's just not, there's no reason for them not to be automated, right? And I know you can do it probably fairly easily.
Yes.
It's low-hanging fruit. I mean, but when you're looking at manpowers and dollars spent and capacity, there's absolutely no reason that can't be automated and save someone data entry, especially hoping now, right, that we really ramp up on these things. What about our fields? How does that process work?
So the fields follows the same process
Okay.
as the building.
So-
So it uses the same form. There's a separate form for the auditorium.
Yeah.
And then there's one for buildings.
Can we try to like do a no-touch system kind of thing for them?
You've got to touch.
Well, you know what I mean, but that the people who are renting it are inputting the information as opposed to us, data entering it. Just, it's not the best use of labor.
The form is pretty easy. It's, you select this, you select that online.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Let them just put it online instead of us doing, getting it in paper. Okay, sorry about that.
That's okay. So just so you know, year-to-date expenditures for the auditorium so far, we've spent over $33,000
Year-to-date, January till now.
fiscal year.
This school year, July.
July. So that's water, security, purchase services, maintenance, custodial supplies, your soaps, your papers, electricity and gas. So we do spend quite a bit of money.
We do. Because I know when the dance
So
companies,
how frequently is it used? Like, I'm just getting an idea since this is July to now, like how frequently was it used over the summer? Like once a week, twice a week?
Very low.
Wasn't used over the summer because of parking.
So this is just from,
this is just regular maintenance.
just routine maintenance?
But when the
You're
dance,
not filling up the
But
soap
cooling
dispensers
that,
and...
cooling that, think of your house, your
Right.
summer electric bill with air conditioning, what you're,
So this is
and then now
okay.
look at this auditorium. your
but
air
I know
conditioning.
some of the dance companies, when they come in and rent, they
Yes.
crank the air.
Yes.
Because, you know,
Kids are gonna sweat
right,
it out.
and that comes out of our budget. The rental money for the facility goes to the town, and we pay for the air conditioning.
3 days plus rehearsals.
Right.
and-
So we spent 33,000 pretty much on just maintaining
Normal stuff.
without really.
Without any rentals.
Without rentals, so yes, I imagine if there's rentals, then
Right.
it would double.
Right. It's costly.
Yeah.
And the Auger House,
Wait a minute, it just caught me.
yeah.
We pay for the maintenance, but we don't get the rental fees.
Correct.
Yes, that's the point I was trying.
Sorry, I'm a little slow on
That's
the
okay.
uptake.
It's a great system.
For the town.
We
For the town.
keep no rental money at all, other than we've been reimbursed for, if a custodian works overtime, the town reimburses.
Okay, so we only
for
get
those
labor, but we
wages.
don't get utilities.
Correct.
We replaced the carpet, we painted the stage, any, if we apply for it, it's,
And how did this, like,
We're gonna
how did
need
this come
time.
about? Like,
this has been like this.
Forever, since the auditorium was built.
right, so is it, they said we can build it if we give them the rent? Like, I don't understand like how they wound up with the cost.
Right,
Like,
it's
is there a deal
or
like,
is this just a pass
you know,
Can
they
you put
approved
this
our
on the
auditorium,
thing to
maybe
talk
we get
about during
rentals?
budget season?
Yes, that's why I was trying to
Yeah, I caught you. It just took me a minute, but let's put it on our
throw
list
it
of
out in the
things
water now.
about on budget season and see how, who knows what we can come up with, but I think it's worth a discussion.
Right. As far as the regular financial report, you will see an Excel spreadsheet version of the report that you're used to. Hopefully next month you will see the real report from Eunice. I've had to have a report specialist work with me from Eunice to create what I think should have been a canned report. But anyway, and because we are still using the old financial system for payroll, I am keeping payroll encumbrances on a spreadsheet right now. And hopefully that will go away when we implement the new software for payroll. Usual things just to point out, health insurance we're still anticipating $800,000 in employee contributions. Last month it was over 900,000, so you'll see as we go along that number goes down. We did have another severance payment. We had 2 secretaries retire. One just recently was paid their severance, so the number has gone up. Another 18,000 from last month. And we continue to keep an eye on our utilities, especially natural gas and heat. I believe heating oil is up around $5 a gallon right now.
Do we benefit at all from the solar
Farm,
garden
farm,
farm?
we will eventually, for the new building and for the manufacturing. That was part of the plan.
So oil's crazy, right? And electric is going up. How's that impacting our long-term budget?
Right now, I'm trying to wait and see what happens because it seems to be moving.
It's a moving target. I hate to say I'm not hopeful.
We don't know how cold the winter's gonna be yet. and-
Are you worried?
Not so much about this year, I'm worried about next year's budget.
Okay, then again, put that on the list.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And another fun fact, year-to-date, July to now, we've spent $10,500 on the Walker House for same thing, utilities, supplies, things like that. Auditors will be here next week to finish up the field work for fiscal year '22. And I do have some budget transfers behind the financial report. The format is different. You can tell me if you like it. If you don't like it, we'll go back to the old way. The cover sheet is a summary from our system. So how it works now in our new financial system, the budget transfers follow a approval path. So when I get them, they've already been approved at the principal level, and then they come to me for approval. There's no more paper form, everything is done online. So basically what I did was I put these in the system. Now, since you're not in our approval path, but you're my approval, I'm sending them to you like this. So you'll see the actual screenshot of what I entered for each transfer. If you don't like this, I can go back to the Excel spreadsheet. It's your preference. So I'd be happy to
What's easier for you? What's faster?
whatever you want.
No, really, what's faster?
I have to enter it this way anyway, so this way is faster.
So we'll get used to this way.
Okay. So if you want to look through these, they're pretty generic, covering.
It's clear, Martha, it's clear.
Yeah.
We can see where it's transferred, the date. I mean, everything we need to see is very clear. I don't want duplication of work again. That's not something we want eating up your time.
Looks good.
Very
So
easy
if
to
they
read.
are okay with you, I would ask for your approval.
Yeah.
Then you want a motion?
I believe I need one, yes.
I'll make a motion to approve the line item transfers as submitted.
Second. Any discussion, whether to the format or the actual transfers?
No, she said,
Oh, I was asking if there's any discussion.
yeah, she was just asking discussion. I don't think we need a motion about the format, right?
No.
I was just asking
No.
if everyone was okay with it. Yeah, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. No.
Janet did.
Any other questions for Martha?
No.
Okay, I'm going to pass out our enrollment survey for you to take a look at. This is as of October 1st, we're required in the state to do that. So officially for all students, 1,610.
Sixth grade's a big class, huh?
Yeah,
Eighth grade's pretty big too.
Any questions?
There's 101 kids in 11th grade. And 27 were inducted into the National Honor Society. Old school math tells me that's about 30%. That's really commendable.
Yeah, their kindergarten class is tiny.
That's tiny.
There only has 14.
Yeah, I mean, kindergarten to first is like, wow.
I mean,
Yeah, but I think there was a drop off because of COVID. People held their kids and didn't,
yeah.
you know what I mean?
Okay.
And didn't send them. I think COVID had something to do with that.
Yeah, but that doesn't sound like kindergarten.
Because we always had well over 100, 105, 110.
There's a huge difference between K and 1. First grade is 104
Right.
and K is 87. So I think that was a big piece of it.
Yeah.
Was COVID.
yeah, holy crap. Okay, well, that's that.
Okay, I've asked Mr. Florio to be here just to update you on our fire safety. We had sent a list out, and he's just going to briefly go through and update you and answer any questions that you may have on other facilities.
Sorry, I don't have a presentation like Carter.
There's no PowerPoint, John? No
If we did,
PowerPoint?
we'd be nervous. I'd be wondering what the current time is. And I know what you're doing. It's not PowerPoints.
Yeah, here's over the fire marshal's report. I understand the board has some questions. Do you have copies of the fire marshal's report?
I didn't bring it, but. Did you bring it? It's okay.
Anybody want one?
Yeah, if you have it, we can, Mark, we can share one.
Yeah, we could share.
John, is it closed yet? Is the report closed? Are all of the items done, or do we still have some?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yep.
That's more of what I,
Yeah.
thank you for bringing copies.
Did I give you two? No.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. Just a little
Thank you, man.
Give me yours. Thanks.
And also, I guess, this time to do this is what we did.
Thank you.
Oh, yay. I like the compare and contrast.
I'll go over those.
Oh, nice. You left what's open and what's closed.
Okay, as you know, the fire marshal comes in every year prior to school opening. He comes usually the last week of August, just prior to school opening. He was very happy when he came in this year. Our fire marshal report is usually very long. He was very happy this year that the list is very short. He thanked the custodial staff for doing a good job getting buildings ready for inspection and the start of school. I have to say they did do a great job this year. So if you go down through the
John, I'm going to ask you a dumb question.
Yep.
But when he goes through the building, is there the same punch list every year, or can he be looking at
No,
anything?
he just walks through the buildings and he checks for, mostly he checks for the same things every year because he follows OSHA standards, he follows NFPA standards, state standards for school safety. Emergency lights have to work, doors open and close, fire detection works. Anything in the building is not supposed to be there according to fire statutes. He addresses that. Anything having to do, goes in the boiler room, make sure the boiler rooms are clean, make sure our equipment's functioning correctly, CO detection, anything. Fire marshal wears a lot of hats.
Yeah.
And he has a lot of authority. He has a lot of things to cover.
So do we have like a master checklist, so before he comes, we go through it so that we minimize our risk?
I wouldn't say master checklist. I think we know what needs to be done. We've been doing this for so long. Everybody knows what needs to be done. We know that, our fire extinguisher company comes in during the summer, they change our fire extinguishers. All of our outside vendors take care of it in the summer, so when he comes, it's done.
Yeah.
Fire alarms are tested, our sprinklers are tested, all that stuff is taken care of. Our custodians know that storage rooms need to be cleaned. There's just things that we know that what he's looking for, but sometimes he'll come in.
Is it you? Do you hold the knowledge in your pocket?
I walk with Bert to every school, every school.
You know why I'm thinking this, and you've been here a really long time, and so you have all this collective knowledge.
The custodial staff knows.
Because if something were to happen and you're not here, how are we going to transfer that knowledge?
They, like I said, the custodial staff knows.
Do you think maybe you could write a checklist down? Because
I
trust you.
Yeah, not a problem.
100%.
Not a problem.
And I trust your staff.
Yeah.
But we need to make sure all of this knowledge is flowing down. It's like a second grade teacher leaving and not leaving any notes, right?
That is very easy.
Okay,
very
perfect.
Easy. I know the things Bert does all the time. And I can even check with Bert. He may have a checklist.
He might, that would be great, just so we're always prepared. And as we're opening a new school, just kind of, that would be awesome, thank you.
John, you going somewhere?
What's that?
He is not going anywhere, I just,
Eventually.
not anytime soon, but we don't want to be,
So if you look what we did, North Branford High School, okay, he only had 6 violations. As you see, 1 through 5 have been completed. And number 6, he put that statement in every school because it sort of carries over. Just remember, all storage areas need to be clean. Okay, so
What's the storage
basically
area?
there were 5 things in.
What's the storage area?
Yeah, any mechanical rooms, electrical rooms,
Oh,
anything like
okay.
that, can't be used for storage,
Oh, okay, gotcha.
okay?
All right.
And then New Jerome Harrison, you know, the same thing. Basically, there were
makes
6.
sense.
You know, I know that Zach had a question on why there's so many doors on the list. So what he does, he goes around and makes sure all the exit doors open and close. What happens is, because he comes at the end of the summer,
Well,
heat, humidity has
yeah.
a huge effect on
Okay.
things.
well.
Okay, you all know, probably
Yeah.
affects your house.
Yeah.
floor.
Yep.
Okay?
Yeah.
So 50% of the things Mother Nature takes care of by the time school starts.
Yeah.
You could go to a door that's stuck the week he was here, and then it cools
Okay.
down, next thing you know, the door's open. But if we check all the doors he tags, so we say, okay, we can see it's a hinge problem, or a hinge is pulling away. Okay, that's the reason why we fix a hinge. If it's a settling problem, or the building is moving, we have to realign the door, okay. But sometimes some doors are just, he goes to open them, they're a little tight, or they don't close exactly right. You wait a couple weeks, that door's open and
Do
closed.
we have a lot of wood doors?
What's that?
Do we have a lot of wood doors?
Interior doors are wood.
At
your
all the
inter-
schools?
All your interior school doors are wood.
Really?
Yeah.
I guess they are.
Your classroom doors, your fire doors, they're all wood.
The
Your
fire
exterior
doors are
do-
wood?
Your exterior doors are metal.
The fire doors are wood?
Yeah, fire doors, classroom doors and fire doors have a fire rating.
Okay.
They're filled with fireproof material inside.
Okay.
The finish is fireproof.
Okay.
So they're called a 3-hour burn door. Some of them are called a 6-hour burn door.
Okay.
So it actually
That
takes
makes me
3
feel
hours
better.
to fire, to burn through that door.
Okay. That makes me feel better. I was like, oh.
Yeah, no, it's.
I was like, teachers, administrators, I'm a little nervous.
You know,
Okay. let's-
schools don't burn down.
Everything.
Can you just knock on wood? Why would you
Why
say
would you
that?
say something like that?
Is
Seriously?
that the statement we always say?
I
Schools
don't
don't,
say-
what do
well,
we
we
practice? It's not even, it's not so much now we practice fire drills that are required, they're lockdown drills. Everything is shifting.
Yeah.
All our buildings are
Yeah, everything's shifted, and a lot of stuff is shifting from fire to
Yeah.
security.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah, I
it's
get
all starting to intermingle, which dealing with the new high school now, fire and security is intermingling. with
Intermingle,
a lot of
yeah.
construction.
it's more
Okay,
secure.
got it. Yeah.
Mr. Floyd, with the exit doors, were all of the issues that they were like swelling and weren't like sticking, or were there some that just
No, he said there was like one with a hinge.
were
They're-
closing properly? Like,
They're just, what he does is he walks around, he pushes the door open, okay, and he wants it to close, he wants it to lock. If he has a hard time pushing it out and it sticks, he goes, you know, it's sticking on the way out. Some of them will close, some of them won't close all the way. So he tags that one, okay?
Yes.
Exit door number 3 at the intermediate school has to be tagged.
Nothing you can do about
So
that.
when we go around after he does it, we check to see why the
Well,
doors
yeah.
are open or closed.
Yeah. If it's summer heat or if it's for another reason. Yep, got it.
So you'll see the same thing, tech room, Bruce and staff clean that up, So what happens over at Jerome Harrison, and I know it's a crowding issue, we're running out of room over there. There's a couple, as you see on the list, there's a couple of storage rooms that are being used for educational space. According to the fire code, it's not supposed to be, but, yes, we're running out of space in all these schools.
Right.
So, I don't know what Jerome Harrison can do about that, and you have to talk to the principal and see. I don't know if there's anywhere else that could be relocated. So then you see the intermediate school, same thing, doors, a lot of doors at the intermediate school. And then the auditorium, a lot of it is housekeeping. They had the stage in front of the fire hose door and, this and that, stuff like that. A lot of doors. You see on the list, everything's been completed.
Okay.
So now we go down to some items that he caught on his inspection that he wants. This has to be addressed all year long. It
Yep.
can't just be, our 30-day list that we have here. at Jerome Harrison, vehicles parking against the back of the building, he didn't like that, that's a fire lane, so we had that repainted, okay, that's a fire lane, strike fire lane now, and we strike through parking spaces, so cars are no longer parking against the building. All the classroom buildings that have the fire drill evacuation procedures, all the schools took care of that. The dumpsters, around the dumpsters, when he comes at the end of the summer, there's a lot of junk around the dumpsters from the summer. That all gets cleaned up by the start of school, something the custodians have to maintain all year long. A carbon monoxide system, all of our schools have carbon monoxide detection in our boiler rooms. They're all tied into our fire alarm panels. So if there's a high reading of carbon monoxide in any of our boiler rooms activates our fire alarm panels, it gives us a warning that we have a high CO that we have a high CO reading in our boiler rooms. The Branford Intermediate School has CO detection through the whole HVAC system, as will the new high school. So if a certain room or certain area gets high CO levels in the intermediate school, it goes to our energy management system, it sends off an alarm, and we check and see what the problem is.
Okay.
So he didn't know if we had all that, and I gave him all the paperwork that was all done, and he was very happy about that. The other thing he ran into, and it happens, staff members don't realize fire and egress codes. There were, in the schools, had curtains on the walls, furniture brought in from home, decorations hanging, Christmas lights, throw rugs weren't purchased by the school. That's all illegal by the fire code, okay? The tags have to say, they're UL listed for use in schools and public buildings. So he's pretty adamant that stuff has to be removed, okay? I have to say, the schools have done a fairly good job at it, but they're not 100% compliant yet. There's a few little pockets. So.
They're trying to make it homey.
Yeah, listen. I understand that.
In between here.
I understand that. He understands that.
And-
But you have
Can we
to
sew
realize,
in the tag on?
you have to realize he walks a line.
I know,
Yeah.
I know, I
His
get it.
responsibility is the safety of the staff and the
Right.
students in those buildings. He's representing the town of North Branford.
Yes, absolutely. I wonder if we can give staff alternatives so that they could still have a homey space with.
And that's all been
fire
taken
code.
care of.
Oh, okay.
They understand what can go in there. They understand if
It's
they
the
need
tag, it
to,
needs to have a
if
certain
they
tag on
need
it?
to replace things, then it goes through us and it
Okay.
has to have a tag. All of
The
this has
tag.
been.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
And where does that tag come from? I mean, so,
It's on the product.
so when
we
you purchase,
it
I
from-
never knew there was a tag, so like.
From
when
an
you-
educational,
If it gets purchased.
So if you buy a lamp, you're buying it from an educational site that has that tag. I didn't realize that, okay, that's interesting.
so the lamps go, there's no microwaves, there's no refrigerator, no, these are things that
Okay.
are.
These are things that made their way into the classrooms over the years. Personal refrigerators, microwave popcorn machines, all illegal, as are space heaters. So, like I said, the fire marshal's just doing his job.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
And the superintendent
No, it's fine.
has stated he wants to be compliant, so.
Well,
We've had very good conversations about this.
Okay.
I'm gonna do.
I
Yep.
appreciate it.
Yep.
Okay, so like I said,
Okay.
as you see, we're pretty fully compliant.
All right.
I spoke to Bert, he's very happy about everything,
Thank you.
Okay.
okay?
Thank you very much.
The other issue you wanted to talk about was the maintenance schedule for the new high school?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I will give this to the board chair.
Yeah, she's having a good night over here.
I'll give this to the chair and she can discuss it with the rest of the members. These are some minutes from a building committee meeting. Just want you to see that.
Okay.
And here's the information you're supposed to supply us.
Oh, good, okay.
Gilbane and all of the, Gilbane,
I'll get these.
QA&M and all of the outfits that work in there are supposed to, by contract, supply us with training,
Okay.
Right.
anything having to do with the systems. It's all gonna be video recorded, video training, and they have to supply us with a schedule of maintenance
Right.
Okay.
for everything.
Right, that was part of the contract.
building.
Okay.
We have not received it yet. Mr. Canada had asked for it again at
I bet he
the
did.
building committee meeting, and Kevin Pagano said they're working on it to get it put together for us.
Okay.
So we will have a schedule of maintenance
Okay.
in the building. It's going to be pretty similar to the intermediate school. I mean,
Right.
the intermediate school has, we have daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, biannual, annual, all, you know, it takes a lot to keep these buildings going. High school's gonna be the same way. There's certain things you have to do at a certain time.
Yep.
So, you know, it's probably just gonna pretty much mirror what we do. A little bit newer technology.
Right.
But it's gonna mirror what we do over there at the intermediate school.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Okay?
All right.
I just want to bring one thing to your attention. I attended a Zoom meeting run by the state about the state is going to put a grant program out there for improving existing HVAC systems.
Okay.
Yeah. One of the first time the state's ever done it. Of course, with anything with the state, there's mounds and mounds of paperwork and all kind of hoops you have to jump through.
Right.
And so we can't just say this is what we want. It has to be designed by a heating engineer, it has to be value engineered by a heating engineer, and we can't do it. So they have to design it, have to tell you what the cost is, and we present it. I'm working with 2 heating engineers now to go through Jerome Harrison, the auditorium, and Totucket Valley.
Okay.
Nice.
And see if there's any way we could do, maybe possibly get some grant to improve an HVAC systems there.
That'd be amazing.
So we'll see what happens,
Okay, keep us posted on that.
okay?
Yeah, that's
Thank you.
great.
You're
That's
welcome.
great news. Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any questions?
No.
Okay, food service alternatives, I know we've been in communication with the state. Martha, are you scheduled to go out in November for a workshop?
There will be a training in November. The date has not been established yet, but I am on the email list to be notified when it's scheduled.
So we'll keep you apprised each
Yeah.
month as we progress into this process of evaluating, you know,
Options.
privatizing and options for the school.
I'm sorry, but what the training is, I don't understand exactly.
In order to even begin the process to see if you wanted an outside company to come in and manage, the state requires an RFP.
Okay.
And the RFP is very long and complex. And they actually offer special training on how to put together the RFP, what needs to be included, language. And after the training, you write up that RFP, then you send it back to the state for them to review. They edit it, they send it back to you, and then after they've approved it, you can put it out to bid. They require that all of the vendors in the state receive a copy, as well as it be listed on the state bid list website. It has to be out there for at least 30 days. The state prefers 45 to 60 days. Once all of the responses have come in, we have to use a state score sheet. They tell us what to look for, how to look for it. When we pick the vendor that meets the highest qualifications, that goes back to the state for them to review again. And then we are able to, once they approve it, then we are able to actually draw up a contract if that's the way that you decide to go. So they say
This is just for the application.
6 months at
Wow, this
the
is
minimum.
intense. I mean, this is intensive. It's like, what?
I know, you'd think you could just go out and shop around and decide who you want to go with.
I
It
mean, I
doesn't
guess I
work
can
that way.
understand it to some extent, but it just, that's even further than I imagined.
It's very
Yes.
long, very detailed.
Very extensive.
Yeah.
Wow, okay. Thank you for explaining.
So keep us posted.
Each month, we'll keep you in the loop as to how we're progressing. Manufacturing, there's not many updates. I do have the building blueprints for that, and I'm going to go out with 2 or 3 people to visit Plaque Tech and look at their curriculum and what they're doing, get a cost out for equipping that building. So I'm hoping to get out to Plaque Tech in the next,
So where would the building be?
where would it be?
Yeah.
It would be on the back side of the high school where there's the student parking lot right now.
Okay.
So it would sit, if you go into the high school, the back parking lot has the fence there where the students
Yep.
park, it would line back there and come out.
Okay. And how are we funding the building?
It would be a combination of state funding and potential town funding. So I'm working with the state rep and I'll be working with
Okay.
the town as well. And I've
Okay.
had some conversations with Mike Downs about this
Okay.
initiative, and he seems very interested in
Okay,
progressing. So it'll be a
Nice.
combination of funding sources.
okay.
Um,
And then this is also a revenue stream for
We're looking
the
at,
town?
for it to be
Potentially.
potentially in the evenings,
Right.
potentially.
Like an adult ed kind of
students
thing?
coming in from other towns, if we grow this and they come and we want to do that.
Okay.
But primarily in the evenings for adult education.
Okay, and during the day, it would be
Our
for
students.
our students?
Correct.
As part of like an alternate curriculum?
It
Or-
would be, the students would have the opportunity, if they so choose, to work towards an associate's degree. So our staff would be trained to instruct these classes, and even in the main building of the high school, if we're going to give an associate's degree, we would align with what the expectations are for that. So, yes and yes.
And would they be doing it during the regular school day?
Regular school day. Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, so they might have, similar to a tech school, they may go out to the shop for the first 3 hours and then come back to do their core academic the second 3 hours.
okay,
So depending upon the requirements, when we go to Platt Tech and look at these other programs,
you're gonna mimic it?
we're gonna, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Would you open, sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead. You go
Would you-
first.
Are you hopeful that it would open at the same time the new high school does?
No,
So it all
no.
roll out?
I have to clear the high school. I have to clear everything out of the back. We have had conversations about a timeline, and I've worked with Fran Marola. He would do a lot of the site work through the town. And then we've already met with a builder. John's been very active with it as well. So I think we have a good plan in place, but like everything else, we're gonna need to get the funding.
Yeah, okay.
But that's where it would sit. It's really a box. It's a steel frame. It's flexible spacing within with teaching stations at both ends, and the center being all laboratories for the curriculum.
So basically a building like
It's
our
like the
pre-K.
FRC.
Yeah, our pre-K building.
A big,
Yeah.
A Butler building.
much bigger FRC building.
And we were getting rid of, we had that extra space, so they were gonna put that like practice field for, we didn't know what, they were gonna take that away, right, to make room for the.
Yeah, so we were trying to fill space back there.
Right.
So this would be the 10,000 square feet,
Okay.
which was kind of a dead zone, and then everything would
Yeah.
move up.
Okay.
Yeah,
So, and we want it separate from the building for security, and if you have people in there at night, it keeps everything away.
and as you get more information,
Right.
you'll just keep feeding it to us.
Every month I'm
and-
going to,
yeah.
I'm going to
Perfect.
tell
Perfect,
updates. Okay, I met with the town manager, our new town manager, Mike Downs. We did a walkthrough of this building, had some really good conversations, and we've completed the Augur agreement. We did that verbally
Good.
with some things that kept getting caught up back and forth, and we were able to come to mutual agreement, so that should be put to rest, and that should be approved by the council at the next meeting.
Nice.
Great.
Okay. Renovation project. Beth, do you want to, anything, things are moving along, I know, and there were some things that we discussed earlier that just, I think for ease of entry to the building, a pathway for teachers was one thing, and then a security camera being mounted on the building versus a light pole for reimbursement, that if it's student security and safety for our staff, we're not going to say no to it. So I think we're all on the same page that, that's
I
something.
think it's going to be tabled to the end to see if there's any funds, because that might not be reimbursable from the state because it's
So they're going to wait.
at the engineering.
Right.
But the other one for the walkway,
Right.
which John brought up, John caught that there wasn't a walkway for the teachers' parking lot at Crescent Park that would get them to the high school. They had to walk all the way by the auditorium and around.
Oh, geez.
So most of them would walk in the street. So that's one we're going to push for.
So to be continued, I know this committee,
Okay.
we will get it done. So it'll be probably later on in the decision-making once they see with it, but that's something we are going to do.
Okay.
But again, walk through if you want to go through.
When is the next walkthrough date?
I'm looking at.
Would you say the third Monday or second?
Usually the third Monday.
Third Monday.
Do
So,
that
but let me put this out. If you can't make the night when they're doing these walkthroughs, if you contact me a day in advance or so, and you want to go through a walkthrough, I can get Kevin and we can do a walkthrough. So you just let me know, give me a day in advance, and if you want to take and catch up on the building, let me know and I'll arrange it with Gilbane and we can go through. As I know some of these night meetings, some of you aren't available, so. But if you want to see it, let me know.
I wanted to do it and I forgot. Goes in and you just, I forget things.
What time is it at? It's the third Monday.
It's usually the third Monday.
And you said like 5:30?
Was it, no, 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock?
I think they pushed it to 6, but I
Okay.
don't know, maybe with the getting dark.
Dark, right.
But yeah.
Okay. I appreciate the reminder last time. Remind me next time.
Okay.
Next time I'll come.
Any other questions?
Nope.
All right, community roundup. We have the 33rd annual community roundup scheduled for October 22nd. I see some of you brought.
We're kicking you off, Mr. O'Rourke. We brought,
Thank you.
the board donated some food to start off your community drive.
Outstanding.
Greatly appreciated. So tell your friends and family to put things out in front.
I always put it out in the end of my driveway. So I have a good street, so they usually get me early, so.
Perfect.
Mr. Ward, we're collecting tomorrow night at Totucket for the community roundup at our Fall Fest. So can we coordinate something with that, either for the students to come pick it up or?
So tomorrow night you're collecting?
Yes, but I can leave it someplace for pickup Saturday. I'll connect with you about that.
Yeah, we can figure it out.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Mr. Schoolmaker, can I just say one quick
Sure.
plug? So if you have children, could be high school children, could be middle school grandchildren, anybody who might be looking to do something for the community on Saturday, we need more teams. We have close to 20 teams, we're looking to get closer to 30. Usually we get a rush the last day or two, but this is a big event for the community. It's one of the first things I found out about when I came to North Branford. Mr. Williams has been there for all 32 community roundups and will be there. Don't make me a liar. Mr. Williams.
Bruce, you're out.
Mr. Williams has been to all but one. His wife has been to all but one as well. And if there are students, whether it's mostly NBIS, but if there are high school students or even elementary students that need community service signed off on, I'll sign off on anything that needs to be signed off on that day. But the truth is, this drive for the food pantry, it's the biggest drive of the year. And the food that we collect, and this is what I'm telling our students, will feed families for Thanksgiving, feed families for Christmas. So if we can get some more teams, because the biggest thing that happens, sometimes we don't get an opportunity to collect all the food. So we need more teams.
But did you say for the board members if we have middle school grandchildren?
Possibly. Possibly, I don't know.
Are you targeting?
I don't know that.
I'm like, I know he's not listening.
We have
I know you're not going to know me. All right, thank you. And that's it, committee reports.
Yeah. So negotiations, we don't need to do anything yet. Nothing to do. We were in negotiations with the Teacher Federation. They need to ratify the contract before we do.
Correct.
So we should expect to do that next board meeting. Budget and operations, we do during this meeting, so we can remove that from the agenda permanently. Curriculum and instruction, we incorporated that into the agenda as well, so I mean into the board meeting, so we could remove that item permanently from the
Ongoing
from the
agenda.
committees. Carter, if you need us for curriculum and instruction at any point to pull off into a subcommittee because there's something more in depth, we could go ahead and do that. And Martha, if we need a budget workshop, we can pull off.
Right, we could do an ad hoc committee
You know,
quick.
we can do, you know, something quick, you know, on the side. Pension, it looks like there was no meeting. Policy, it only makes, yep. Policy, Beth, there's a ton here, you gotta direct us.
Okay, so you all received the policies.
Oh, yes, we did.
We read this past week. So these are, the policies were looked over by, shouldn't I?
Yeah, they gave us a nice memorandum here.
Yes, yes. So if you look, there's a legend in the back that tells you the color, like the insertion, the deletion, move from, move to kind of thing.
Okay.
So that helps. But we come from the state statutory changes that we are obligated to do. So that's the first read for all those policies. The other thing is that we have some new policies that they want us to put in.
Okay.
So do I need to name all of them?
I don't think
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Or
So did you run, okay.
So the first set of policies that have had some changes or corrections on what to do.
Because
The
they
new
give us a little
ones,
blurb about all.
we don't
I
have
like it.
those, we have to put them in.
Did you see that book?
Oh, D, so it gives us a little blurb about each one, what they're changing.
I like this. So Beth, you want us to read all of these for next time?
These are all first reads.
These are all first reads. So next time we meet and we have a discussion, I mean, you can see what the changes are. I mean, you look
Right.
at it.
You have the cheat sheet.
Yeah, you have a cheat sheet, and some of it's just wording, like the district is capitalized and stuff.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
I'm just like, this is like 1, 2.
But most of these changes are
There's 11
basically the same
But
mandate.
you can just go by this too.
We really don't have a choice.
We don't really have a choice,
Okay,
but.
they're all mandated.
So it's more
Okay.
informational, so you know what they're changing, there's some, some of it is movement within. So now where the format is more of the policy at the top, and then any regulations or any definitions afterwards.
Okay.
So trying to format them.
All the same? Okay, that makes sense to
All
me.
right, so,
I just want to, I mean, there's a lot of them, I just want to make sure I can read all of them.
Yeah, they're quick, easy
yeah,
reads.
because you can just
Some of
look
them
at
are
it.
really quick.
It's your light reading.
Yeah, you just look at it, it's like, okay, so the blue one, this one, it's this 9110. So the blue is an insertion,
Okay.
more of the wording that the state says.
Yeah. But it's quite a large, like,
Right.
legend there.
But, I mean, the attorney went through, took into account what the state wanted and she put it in, so.
Okay.
The policies, the new policies that we have to put in about the policy to improve completion rates of the FAFSA and the FSA. We don't have one, so that's in there. for
Why
us
would
to
we
look
need
at.
that?
It's new
It's new, the state.
It's a state
wants us to
mandate?
put it in. Yeah,
for equity.
yeah. These are coming from the state.
But FAFSA is for college, like,
Right.
why do we need to do, I don't understand.
Because some kids aren't
So
being
it's-
told, and kind of being encouraged to do it and followed up to get them to do it. Maybe not so much, because I believe our rate in our town is pretty good, but in other towns, they are not. So there's across the board, every school system now has to do it. So
Okay.
that
Yeah.
equity among all
All
schools,
students that
that
have
the kids
access
are
to it.
given the opportunity to fill it out and encouraged and kind of follow up. You could do this, why don't you do this kind of thing?
Uh-huh.
It's not so much within our town, but we have to do it
So are
because.
they going to go to the parent's home who actually fills out the FAFSA and help the parent because it's not the
I think
child who
that's part of
fills
the
out the
policy.
FAFSA? No, I'm just
No,
saying,
right.
like,
It's
I'm
just-
all for policy and
just
I'm
seems like an
all
odd-
about equity. That policy makes no sense to me because all of these children that we're talking about, we need to touch their parent because the parent is the one who fills out the FAFSA.
Right.
So I think the state should
Well, it'll
relook
be
at the
part of
policy.
us communicating and making sure that we're communicating with the schools.
It's not our school that's going to be the issue.
Right.
But
We're-
That's
we're
what
doing
drives
it.
me insane.
The state's trying to make it possible that we have to follow.
I get that. I don't think stupid policy is good policy. I think that if you want to help with equity, then you look at the root cause and that you educate in a different way. You don't make a mass policy. That
But you're
makes
talking
no
a policy on heat
Sorry.
illness awareness. That's just,
sense. I didn't even get that far.
the fourth one down, exertional heat illness awareness for intramural and interscholastic
Yes,
athletics.
now that they want,
Yeah.
there has to be a model put in place. So we have a policy.
Okay, that makes sense.
I don't know
I don't know what policy
But there
says.
was a whole listing of things in there, SIACs, S-I-A-C.
CIAC.
CIAC.
CIC guidelines for practicing during summer months, temperatures, water breaks, hydration, all of those things have to be grounded in your,
Policy.
But they're supposed to come up with a model, so we have to have a
Right,
policy
we're
in
waiting on
place.
that.
They come up with a model, it's supposed to be posted in every venue, like.
The state, CIAC comes up with the model.
They're gonna come up with a model, but we have to have
post
the
it.
policy in place,
And
and
then post
then
it.
when the model comes up, we have
We'll
to
plug it.
post it
yeah.
at
Okay.
any of our venues that we're doing things, so that the
Okay,
procedure's followed.
okay,
Yep.
okay.
Let's see, again, equitable identification of gifted and talented. It's in your packet,
That makes
what the
sense.
state wants us to do.
Okay.
So those 5 that are new,
Okay.
all coming from the state.
I guess we can't redline their thing and send it back, huh? Make recommendations.
Well, you could, but
I don't think they'll listen. Okay.
Especially
All right.
since.
All right. I know my role on this.
Any questions on policy? I want to thank Beth for,
This is a hefty lift.
this was our first meeting in a couple of years because of the pandemic, so. Carter and Sarah were also there, so we'll be the 4-person team. And then we'll contact Sarah by phone. She will not meet with us live unless we ask her to, but we'll have everything in advance, we'll go through it, and then we'll communicate by telephone if we need to kind of walk us through as we progress through. Because we're going to get into, obviously, volume as we get into the sector layout.
Absolutely.
All right? Thank you.
Isis?
Yes, we had our meeting October 13th. It's a relatively short meeting. I didn't take the best notes, so I apologize. We talked about the educational goals for 2022 to 2023. They're going to update a new design plan update. They're doing the non-bargaining employees compensation proposal they're working on. And we discussed the grants they have applied for. We have multiple buildings under renovation with Winter Green, Aces at Chase, and 2 other schools. They're all going under improvements.
Wow.
So then you have the basic human resources report, or curriculum report, lots of things coming up. With the number of schools they have. We had our early Head Start program update, and that was pretty much it. It was a fast meeting.
All right. Watch out for next meeting.
Yeah, seriously. You pay the price the next one, right?
Yep. Building committee, I think we spoke about that a little bit. We can move on. There was no communication committee. New business.
I have something to bring up. The Historical Society is raising money for the Little Red Schoolhouse, which is the schoolhouse next to the Edward Smith Library here in Northford. And I was wondering if maybe the schools can do something across the board, maybe like wear something red day or a hat day or something where we talk about where we raise some money, like bring the dollar thing.
For a hat or something.
Yeah, $1 for hat, $1 for red. I don't know how we want to do it, but I thought it would fit really well into.
I spoke with
School.
Mr. Bizzuto about that.
Okay.
And so we would love to get involved, and we can help with getting the word out through our messenger system because it's such a great community event. Is there anything you can get to us to educate us that we could use as?
Mrs. Delalla's on the committee.
Yeah, no.
Yes, she is the, yes.
So like a history of the.
Yes, they have all printouts, so I
Okay.
could,
You
I
get
could
those?
send those to you, yes.
And
they
what
have.
are they raising funds for?
So it's the restoration, the building's
Okay.
been unfortunately decaying for a while, and so it needs extensive research, rehab. It's about $100,000 is estimated as a cost. We're applying for a grant to the state, and they will give us $50,000. So we really need to raise 50, except the more we raise, the better, because they don't release their 50 until you've built and restored
Yeah.
the schoolhouse, in which
Okay.
case
You're spending money and you.
don't have it yet,
Yeah.
so it's a little
Okay.
scary. So, but it has to be. It's one of the old. It was from 1805 to almost 1905, so almost 100 years it served as a schoolhouse in this part of town. There was a number of schoolhouses throughout North
Yeah.
Branford, so this is just one.
Is that the only one still standing in town?
It is the second, I think, the second oldest in New Haven County.
Oh, wow.
The only one we have, I think, as a whole complete building.
Yeah.
And then it also served as the Edward Smith Library for a couple of years before we had an Edward Smith Library. So it was the library.
Okay.
Yeah, so it has an amazing history, and there's not too many schoolhouses around.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
So we're excited.
so I will send you the
Yeah.
printouts that the historical site has, and then if we could take it from there, that would be fabulous.
Perfect.
I can age myself. I went to there as a library.
What
You
did you do?
When I was in school, we went there as our school library. We used to walk down
Wow.
to the library. So,
Were you a William Douglas at the time? Wow.
and for many years, I docented at the Little Red Schoolhouse, and while I was teaching, I used to do the program. We'd walk the third graders down, and I used to do the program for the kids.
And they used to have a North Branford Day. I mean, my son, who's a senior now, he went to North Branford Day, and they went to the Little Red Schoolhouse, and he talked about going to the Atwater, and learning to churn butter in front of their historic building in the library there. So hopefully they stop doing that with COVID, but hopefully they can restart doing that.
Now, Beth, wouldn't you get in costume and read to the kids and go? I remember that.
Yeah. I would dress up, well, I did it before I was teaching. I wrote the curriculum for North Branford history, presented it to the Board of Ed. And then when I started teaching, I was doing it, and they would get me a sub, and I would do it all day for the kids.
Right.
Actually, at the time, we were walking
I remember.
from Tutucket, and, yeah. And then I got buses, yeah, that they started doing, or they would do something in the library, something at the church, and the Little Red Schoolhouse.
This takes on new meaning now.
Right?
We're motivated now.
Yeah.
We have right. All right.
I didn't mean to drop my jaw, but I thought I
Good call.
You just didn't know how old it is, right?
All
Yes,
right.
I like it. There used to
All
walk
right.
down and.
She didn't go to the Little Red Schoolhouse, just to be clear. She never attended it.
I attended it as a library.
Okay. Oh my goodness. That's great. All right, visitors and press? Nope. Good of the board.
I heard good things about the program you had at the auditorium.
Yes.
The speaker.
Very
I couldn't go because I had the other meeting.
Mr. Halligan was amazing. And 3 grades, 7th, 8th, 9th grade were all a part of it. And I sat in with the 8th graders, and I think it was very
What was the speaker about?
impactful. It was a dad who lost his son to suicide when he was in 7th grade.
Oh, geez.
So, and then we had parents, about 80 parents come that night, and I want to thank Mr. O'Rourke for putting it all together and having him, and yeah, it was powerful. And our kids were very, very moved, and as with
I wanted to come to that, but I ended up
Yeah,
not being able to.
thank you.
All right. The next regular Board of Education meeting is scheduled for Thursday, November 17th. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.